Hi, my name is Barb Krause, and I currently live in Palmyra, Pennsylvania, just right outside of Hershey. I actually grew up in Lebanon, PA, went to school there, and so pretty much I've been in Central PA my whole life. I am a registered nurse, and I am currently working in an outpatient dialysis facility. I think that's been about 18 years I've been doing that, and it's very interesting, good hours, meet a lot of nice people, get to know your patients. And one thing that I have really noticed with being vegan and working in the healthcare industry is I've really noticed how people don't take care of themselves. So that's been a real learning experience the past 2 years, or past several years for me. I had been vegan 9 years this month. I don't know the exact day, but I know it was in April. I think the process started actually a number of years ago. It was a slow awakening process. I read a book, I don't even remember the title of the book, it was a medical thriller, and it was about E. coli in a hamburger that killed a little girl. And it wasn't that turned me off, but in order to show how the E. coli got into the hamburger, the prologue depicted a slaughter scene of a downed cow. And that completely just turned me off. And after that, and that's probably been about 20 years, I did not eat beef at all. And then I had somebody tell me about how chickens are treated in the egg industry, and that really made me think. So I started buying cage-free eggs, thinking that that was okay, and that was much better. I learned what veal is. I had no idea veal was a baby cow, and I didn't eat a lot of veal, but I was very turned off by knowing what veal was. But the final thing that really was the final push was that I was on vacation and I met a chicken. My husband and I were staying in a rented cabin in Virginia, and there was a chicken every morning. She was a wild chicken, and she would go around to the different cabins and visit, and she was always outside at the window first thing in the morning, and she was so cute and so friendly and so inquisitive that I said, I simply cannot eat chicken anymore because it would be like eating Olive, which was what somebody named her. So after a few months, I was not eating chicken, I was not eating cows, and I decided I should just be vegetarian and just do the whole thing. So I went online and I started to do some research, and I already knew about the egg industry, but I didn't know everything. So I learned more about that, and I said, well, I can't eat eggs anymore. And then I learned about the dairy industry, and I had absolutely no clue about the dairy industry. And I'm a mother, I had children, and I had absolutely no clue that these cows had to be pregnant to produce milk and that their babies were taken away. And it just blew me away, and I said, well, there's no way that I can contribute to that. So I went vegan, and that was it. I had been vegan about 3 years and never knew another vegan. I heard of them, like they're a rare species. But I think it was about that time I joined Facebook, and I saw of some activism going on in some different places and thought maybe I would like to do that and do something for the animals. And I connected with some people in Philadelphia, and I used to travel down there now and then, do some protests, try and do some outreach. And it was a good feeling. It was good to meet other vegans. It was good to just do something that I felt was making a difference instead of just sitting at home being vegan. So I did that, and then met some people actually in this area doing circus protests, and got more involved in this area with that, doing some outreach, and got hooked up with animal advocates of South Central PA, meeting people through the circus protests. And so, yeah, it's been a real enlightening experience. I've learned a lot along the way, and hopefully I'm making a difference to the animals. One of my favorite things that I do is to volunteer at the Harrisburg Humane Society. And basically, I'm a cat socializer. So I go in and pet the cats, and you can give them some little treats now and then. And if their cages are messy, straighten up their cages. But basically, it's to keep them socialized up until the time that they can hopefully find their forever home. And then I've been doing that about 8.5 years, and about a half a year after I started to socialize cats, I started to foster cats. So I've had quite a few mothers who have given birth in my house, and then the kittens stay in my house until they're old enough to be returned to the shelter to be adopted. I've had mothers who come in with kittens, and same thing, they stay with me until all the kittens are old enough to be adopted. I've had orphan kittens that I take care of and raise them up without their mother until they're old enough. And I've taken care of cats who have medical problems and just would do better outside of the shelter and need a little extra TLC. I've fostered some cats who are very shy and scared, and they just need some help getting over that. So all in all, it's a very rewarding experience. The biggest downside is you get so attached, it's very difficult to let them go. And I do have 3 of my own cats that I have not been able to let go. But I would highly recommend it to anybody. It's a very stress-relieving activity. You can feel stressed, and then you go to the shelter and you pet these cats, and it's just wonderful. I love every minute of it. I've recently become interested in the legislative process for animals in Pennsylvania. I think after the passage of Libre's laws, a lot of the legislators are more open-minded to doing legislation for animals. So it's a good time in Pennsylvania to really try and push some of these new laws through. There were 2 senators who just introduced a bill into the Senate of Pennsylvania. It's called Victoria's Law. It's Senate Bill 44. And what Victoria's Law is aiming to do is to say that pet stores may only sell dogs, cats, and rabbits that are sourced from rescues or shelters. And what this will do is cut off the supply chain from the puppy mills to the pet stores. There's a lot of documentation out there that the pet stores are sourcing most of their animals from puppy mills. And after the advent of Libre, we know more about puppy mills. It's named Victoria's Law because Victoria was a German Shepherd. She unfortunately died very recently, who was rescued from a puppy mill after breeding for 10 years. She had between 150 and 200 puppies during that time. She had a neurological disorder, and this neurological disorder was passed down to all her puppies because the puppy mills do not medicate, they do not restrict breeding because mother has a problem. Very seldom do they give vaccines. There's a whole numerous problems. But that's why the bill is named after her and in honor of her now. So the best thing that we can do is you can look, there's a site called humanepa.org, which keeps everybody up to date about all the humane legislation in Pennsylvania. And they will tell you steps to take to contact your senator or your representative, how to dress, how to talk to them, all that kind of stuff. You can meet with them, you can just call and email them. If you call, you'll probably just get an aide, which is fine because the aide pretty much does a lot of communication to the legislator. But it is very important that we do let our legislators know what our feelings are and what we would like, because they really do listen to their constituents, at least at the state level. So that is Victoria's Law. There are quite a few co-sponsors who have signed on to that law. If your senator is one of those, please thank them. Always thank them when they have voted or co-sponsored or done anything pro-animal legislation. And then there very soon will be an identical bill introduced into the House of Representatives in Pennsylvania. And they are circulating a memo at this time looking for co-sponsors. So at this time, it's important for people to contact their representative and ask them to please co-sponsor this bill. So that's one piece of legislation that's very big and very important coming into Pennsylvania. And then there is another one which has just been introduced, and that, I believe, is a House bill. That's House Bill 996. And what that is aimed to do is to prevent the transport of exotic animals through Pennsylvania for traveling or for public performance. And the animals would be elephants, tigers, primates, giraffes, all manner of exotic animals. And this would then put an end to circus performances in Pennsylvania, which would follow in the heels of New Jersey just did one, and I'm very pleased to say they are enforcing it very nicely when people try to sneak these animals in. And these animals are confined in cages for pretty much all their life and transported all around, and they're trained using brutal methods. They're just very basic animal instincts are denied them, and it just isn't right. They cannot be released back into the wild. They've been captive for so many years, but there are sanctuaries where they can go. And we really need to get this moving in this day and age and follow the numerous countries and numerous municipalities who have already made these restrictions. I think if you become active for the animals, it will really help you feel like you're making a difference. And it doesn't matter what you do or how much you do. You can send some emails from home now and then, visit cats at a shelter, visit cats at a sanctuary, or animals at a sanctuary, make some donations, just any little thing, everything helps, everything helps. So don't be afraid to not do something because you're afraid you can't do enough, because everything makes a difference.